Greetings. I am Pastor Greg, and I am honored to share with you on the topic of relapse prevention. Now, I'm going to be moving in and out. You just hear my voice right now. I'm going to come into frame because it's like a one-man operation. So, greetings. I'm here to share with you this serious subject on relapse prevention. There's going to be some information shared by way of slides, PowerPoint slides as well. I'm going to do some board work, and I'm going to take my time deliberately and intentionally to share with you some strategies. Information is power. We understand that, and this is so critical a topic, preventing relapse. Immediately, it is important, because information is power, to understand the terms. I'm going to define for you what addiction is, what recovery is, and then what relapse is. How can you prevent a thing without knowing what that thing is that needs to be prevented? Many misunderstandings of what actually addiction is, and I hope today to clarify that, and through this journey of sharing with you, empower you, give you some healthy options on what we call here best practices. So first up, I want to define what addiction is. So I'm going to go off screen and bring it up on the TV here, and then we'll walk from there. And this may also include me doing some board work, so just bear with me. The first term we'll discuss today is addiction. Addiction, and I know it may seem like a big definition, but it is a pathological relationship to any mood-altering substance or behavior that results in life-damaging consequences. I'm coming back on screen, and I want to point out a couple of things that are important. I'm going to explain what it means, pathological relationship, but what also is important here is to understand that it's not just limited to substances, but it also includes behaviors. This is also a key phrase, and one you ought to get quite familiar with, and this is what's evidenced by everyone. Whether it be your employer, whether it be your family member, whoever's close, near, dear to you, this is the one that they see that you're starting to act different. And these are the life-damaging consequences right here. Life-damaging consequences. Those life-damaging consequences can come in a variety of ways. We'll get into that a little later. But I want to continue to share with you this definition. Again, addiction is a pathological relationship to any mood-altering substance, hear me now, or behavior that results in life-damaging consequences. Loss of job is a life-damaging consequence. Loss of relationship is a life-damaging consequence. And the ultimate is loss of life. Just loss, separation. We are, because of this behavior, because of this substance, we are separated from, we are detached from. There is great distance and toxic distance between what we've come to know and love affectionately and what has come to know and love us affectionately. There has been an interruption in healthy living, healthy thinking, healthy feeling. There's, and the most obvious one of all is when people remark that you seem different, you're acting strange. Let me continue with this definition. One moment. When I mentioned pathological, I wanted to break it down to be user-friendly. You who are listening to me and will see me, that you will get it clearly. There won't be any question. So when we say pathological, we're talking about a path. It's an unhealthy habit, a path that results from the lack and use of conflict resolution skills and problem solving tools. It is an attempt to escape the unpleasant and the unwanted that ties and binds. Again, I want to break this down to you. It's an unhealthy habit, a path that results from the lack of use of conflict resolution skills and problem solving tools. I'm going to bring the board up because you got to see this, and give me a moment. I want to illustrate this and give me a moment to make these adjustments, okay? Addiction. When I say pathological, it means path. Your concentration is going to be here, path. Let's get an understanding. We're people. And forget my stick figures, but I'm just doing, all right? We have normal life experiences, but it's how we deal with those normal life experiences. We have one or two options. Some call it fight or flight, which means to stand or retreat. Okay, we got one or two options: to stand or retreat. To stand requires some skills and some tools. Retreat is where addiction comes from. Retreat is when we run away. We can run away through drugs, alcohol. That's the substances, but then the behaviors, it could be sex, it could be stealing, lying. You know, you've heard of people being called pathological liars, okay? Follow along with me, all right? I'm gonna remove this. I hope I gave you a chance to see this, but you can replay it over again. You can, again, stand or retreat. When we are faced with normal life circumstances, it could be disagreement or a debate or argument between a significant other or a spouse. The best way to resolve that is to talk it out, talk it through, get an understanding, get some clarity. Because most time in my counseling history, I found that the root of all arguments and debates are a lack of communication. And in that communication, it is clearly defining or what it is that you're saying and comprehending what is being said and getting some clarity. Oftentimes we get to running so fast, we need to slow down so that instead of just hearing, we actually listen. Listening involves our whole person, whereas hearing is limited to just our ears. When we listen, not only are we paying attention to what they're saying, but we're also validating who they are. I digress because I'm not going to, counsel you on relationship, but that is the seed. And when there is conflict, when those basic rules are not followed, that contributes and leads to what is called conflict. When we have conflict, that leads to, debates and arguments. Now, in those debates and arguments, we can resolve them by getting that clarity, to getting that understanding, by doing the listening. But when we don't, where, as I mentioned before, we retreat, I need a drink, or I need a hit, or I need a joint, or I need a shot. or I need to get with her or get with him, or I need to take something, because here what you're doing is you're trying to get a rush. You're trying to get a rush. You're trying to get something that will distract you from that painful reality. Anything that can provide a means of escape. If you can just get your mind off of it for just a moment, you might even pause in an argument and say, give me a minute, I need to get me a drink. I'll be right back, and we can pick up where we left off. And oftentimes those interludes and intermissions involve the consumption or the engagement of bad behaviors. Now, I cannot say that alcohol, because it's legal most everywhere, is necessarily bad for you, but it's the, and even the Bible speaks about moderation, but that's not an endorsement. What I'm saying is that there is healthy consumption of alcohol, but then there's also the unhealthy consumption of alcohol, because you're using it as an escape. Okay, and this is what leads to the addiction, because you get involved into this path that every time trouble, trial, tribulation, frustration, aggravation, irritation, agitation enters into your life, which is normal. I'm going to demonstrate this a little bit more, illustrate it a little bit more, that what you do is you look to that as an outlet. You look to that aberrant. It is an aberrant behavior, because it's going to lead to what I said before, life-damaging consequences. You look to that. It becomes built in. It becomes a routine. I don't want to deal with this. I can't handle this anymore. It's too stressful. So let me get a drink. Let me get a drug. Let me be with him. Let me be with her. Let me do this. Let me do that. And you think that that's going to resolve it, and the problem is going to be over. But ahead of myself, is I do get excited about this, because my goal is, as a grateful recovering person myself, is to help those who are suffering. So I'm going to make a woman, okay, try to, yeah, ooh, what I do right there. Okay, so say you're in a relationship, and a relationship could be, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, son, mother, whatever. And it could be vice versa. It could be, boyfriend, husband, uncle, brother, whatever. Anyway, a situation comes about. They're sharing. There might be a bill is due, or unemployment. You just been fired. Or something unexpected, just unexpected happens, and it's bad. Okay. It could be someone insulted you. It could be demands on you from the family members or friends. These are normal things that happen. I'm going off screen now. That happen in normal life. Let me let you know right now, if I'm not sweating, I'm not working, and I'm going to do a lot of that through this course of this. Again, let's say this is you, or it could be you, female. I don't want to discriminate. Okay, whatever. These are normal things that happen in our life, okay? We should have skills to be able to address, face, solve all of these. Most times you've heard the phrase probably that cooler heads prevail. When we're calm, when we're patient, we can see all of our options. And even when we share what the dilemma is whatever it may be, with others that would provide us some other options for us to consider for a good outcome. Now, when I say pathological relationship to any mood altering substance or behavior, in other words, we get into this path and this pattern that we get stuck in and we can't get out of, is because instead of dealing with, facing the bill that's due, and the healthy way would be is like, if you don't have the money, maybe you call a creditor, maybe make arrangements. And by all means, just be honest. Just say like, you know what, I don't have it. This is healthy. That's being forward. That's being honest. That's being straight up about it. That's being clear. And it's the same thing here. That whether it be if you got fired, you can share that I don't like what happened to me. I feel that it's unfair. It feels just. See, it's when you stuff it that when all of the what we call here stinking thinking. Let me get a drink. And this is what happens. Let me get a drink, let me get a drug, let me get with him, let me get with her, let me do this, let me do that. So I showed you, for example, the woman. So when these things happen, and let's just talk about a bill that is due. So the bill is due. The healthy way, again, would be to, make arrangements or call creditor. I'm going on with this again. I want to show you something. Make arrangements. Admit, you ain't got it. Now here's the path. So these are healthy options. Those are healthy options. That's a good way to do things. You're not guaranteed the outcome, but you've taken the right approach. If you take the right approach, select the right option, more than likely you will have a good outcome. That's a healthy option. The unhealthy option is, and here's the path. When the bill comes, let me go to the bar. Or get a drink. Let me go over her house or his house, for pleasure, okay? That means for another thing. Let me get angry and blow up. And that can oftentimes lead to rage. That's another segment we'll talk about. So what it is that when any stress, give me a minute. When any stress, frustration, aggravation, agitation, enters your life, regardless if it's a bill that's due, regardless of the other examples I mentioned to you and listed before you, instead of taking the healthy option, the healthy path, you take the unhealthy path. You run away. And what happens is that you like running away, not facing it. Even though there will be all kinds of options and opportunities provided you so that you can face it. Again, I apologize for sweating, because if I'm not sweating, I'm not working. And thank you for being so patient. But instead of dealing with it in a healthy way, and here's the thing about it. I'm a Christian, and so I'm going to let you know something that, the Holy Spirit will come because he is a spirit of rescue to rescue you from, which means to provide you healthy options. There's a scripture that said that God provides a way of escape that you might be able to bear it anyway. I digress. But healthy options will always be presented to you before bad options are. Now, it's your choice. It's what you choose to do. You see, you got free will. You can choose whatever you want to. Again, I want you to understand. You got to understand this pattern. Nobody woke up as an addict. What ended up happening, some bad circumstances happened in their life. Some unexpected things occurred. Some unwanted things showed up. And then either through a failure to use the tools that you have, or lack the tools and the options, resulted in a pattern being formed that when stress, frustration, aggravation, agitation, strain, anything that comes in that you don't like, you run away, you retreat, and you retreat to drinking, to drugging, to sex, to anger, rage, a variety of different things you retreat to. And what happens is that, after you've done this over time, and even though you can say that, I'm going to do it differently, but because you lack the tools, you really don't have any other options, so you're going to go with what's familiar with you. And then this is when this habit, forms and becomes toxic, that even if it looks like a bill is you're anticipating something wrong. The bill might not even have showed up, but if you've got any, utilities, goods and services or whatnot, you might have to owe something, and so that's kind of routine. It's going to happen on maybe a monthly basis. Regardless of when it happens, it's going to be regular. It's going to be routine, and so maybe anticipating it brings about some stress or frustration, some aggravation, some agitation. You don't even have the bill. The bill didn't even arrive. You don't even have it in your hand. But what it means, what it symbolizes to you, makes you uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable, I gotta escape. I gotta get away. I gotta run somewhere. I don't like this. This is unfair. It's unjust. And nobody understands what I'm going through, but me. And that's our big defense. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how it is. We want to act like we've been picked out to be picked on. We're something special. We're something unique that everybody else doesn't have to deal with the same routine things or regular things that we deal with. Like these bills. Pretty much everybody in the world pays bills, but bills mean something dynamically different to us, and there's a word we use here in the States called catalyst. It's actually just the launch pad, or the reason. That would be best. The reason. The bill now is the reason that I should have a right to get drunk. I should have a right to get high. I should have a right to cheat on him, to cheat on her. I should have a right to have multiple sexual partners and putting my health and their health at risk. I should have a right to lie to anyone, to everyone, because they don't understand what I'm going through. I should have a right to blow up and to get angry and to intimidate and make people afraid of me, and then I can just, kind of gloss that over as about, you got to respect me. I should have a right to do whatever wrong I want to do, because as long as it is providing me an escape, because I've got to escape from this. And this is how an addiction gets formed. It's very subtle. It first comes with unease. You're uneased about this, which unease is uncomfortable. Uneased about that, uneased about the other thing. Then the unease becomes a dis-ease. It's because you got involved in this running away and you can't stop it. I need you to appreciate that right now, addiction. Because we're going to see how addiction relates to relapse prevention. But first we've got to understand, this is the big one. How did I get in this? Because if you don't understand how you got in, how are you going to get out? So let me bring up another slide. Give me a minute. I just want to repeat this real quick before I bring this other slide. Again, as I illustrated, and I appreciate your patience through the illustration. It's pretty crude in my drawings, but I believe you got it. It is an unhealthy habit. It's a path that when something comes in that you don't like, look at the bottom where it says it's unpleasant and unwanted. Okay? Then you look for an escape. But what happened is you got so caught up in running from things that it became fixed in your life. That it doesn't seem like you have any other options. And this is the option that you turn to. And again, it is a result of a lack or use of resolution and problem solving skills and tools. So now what is recovery? Recovery? One, you cannot have recovery unless you admit that as we do with the first step of the 12 steps of recovery, is that we admitted that we are an addict or alcoholic and that our life had become unmanageable. I'll go over some of that in detail later because I take issue with the admitting, because a lot of people want to just admit with their mouth and not admit with their lifestyle. See, that's the full admission. The life admission is that when I do this thing, bad things result. That's the admission.